Welcome into the Dynasty Football Diner. I am your host, Dan, joined as always by my main man, fellow diner owner, Kerry. Kerry, how we doing today?
We're doing good over here, man. We're just, living it up, trying to get back to normalcy after the hurricane.
Yes. While we're on that subject, quick shout out. We're recording on Tuesday. Milton is about to hit Florida really bad. We're in the southeast. We might catch a little bit of it. We actually kind of lucked out, but just a special shout out, thoughts and prayers to the people going through that. And we hope that y'all can make it through the other side to join us in the diner again.
Yes, please stay safe out there, guys.
As always, please catch us on Spotify and YouTube at DFD Podcast. Please follow us on Instagram at DFD_podcast. And make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow.
And leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Turn on notifications. Leave a comment. Tell us how much you hate us. It doesn't matter. It helps the diner out a lot. And we appreciate you.
Yeah, we're constantly trying to improve. So any kind of input you guys have, negative or positive, please just leave it in the comments. So that way, we're there. We'll see it. We'll respond to it and stuff like that. And speaking of comments, Dan.
That's right. We're going to get to it later. I was going to wait, but since you're bringing it up, we got our first diner comment card, a.k.a. a fan question. And we are going to get to it, and boy, it's a juicy one. So I got to tell y'all, stay tuned. We'll get to it. But this is a great question as far as Dynasty, and I hope everybody can take a little piece out of it, and it'll help them in their Dynasty season too.
That's true. Yes, it is a great question. But first, we want to give shout-outs like we said we would do last time. Shout outs to Andre over on YouTube for being our first YouTube commenter, and shout outs to Jen over at Spotify for being our first Spotify commenter. And Andre, I did not take that trade. And Jen, hold on to Garrett Wilson. Things could get dicey. We'll see how it goes.
Shout outs to Andre and Jen. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please tell a friend, everybody, all you diners out there. Please tell a friend. The more people we can seat in the diner, the better. All right, Kerry, weekend recap. I went 4-2. You went 4-3.
Yep.
The Dynasty Diner team
crushed it.
Number 1 in the league this week. High points. Even with Josh Allen, which is kind of surprising. What do you think about that?
Dude, as good as Josh Allen is, and as good as we know he can be, it's weird seeing him not perform. I mean, we got 15.64 points. He went 9 for 30. It's like they're just not passing the ball without Stephon Diggs and without Gabe Davis. It seems that the air game has just been, it's either been, I don't know if it's just not there or if they just not have need to use it yet. You know what I mean? Because Brandon Cook's tearing it up.
So we had Brian Thomas, who had a game. Tucker Kraft had a game. Drake London had a game. Deontay shit the bed. Justin Jefferson did all right. But let me tell you what stuck out to me, right? Our draft, we went back and forth. If you remember on our draft, it was Trey Sermon or Eric Hall. Is Eric Hall the other running back for Indianapolis?
Eric Hall.
No, he's the tight end for Cincinnati.
Oh, Eric Hall was the other running back, but he was coming off an ACL tear.
If you remember that, we went back and forth, and we decided on Trey Sermon.
We did.
Trey Sermon in this league, 18.3 on a substitute. And then also,
crushed it.
Because we had Tony Pollard on a bye, we had to start Jaleel McLaughlin. That man snuck into the end zone somehow, some way. Ended up giving us, nothing too good, just an 11.5. But I'll tell you, for any of you who have a running back on a bye, if you can get 11 or 12 points,
10 plus is is a bonus.
Anything 10 plus
Off the bench is great.
Off the bench, let's get it.
Here, now just real quick, let me tap on something he didn't mention. Trey Sermon, he had his 10 for 38 and a touchdown. He also went 6 for 6, flawless in the reception game, 25 yards. But in a PPR league, I mean, you're talking what, 6, 7, 8.5 points right there.
Not gonna lie though, he didn't look good.
It didn't, but it got his 18.3. Doesn't have to look good as long as the results show up.
That's right. When you're starting a bench person, if you can just hope they get in the end zone, that's really all you can ask for, right?
Yeah. And for those who haven't, I don't know, for those who have forgotten or haven't been paying attention, we picked up Jonathan Taylor, was our first draft pick, was our first drafted running back. And then we got, I don't even know what round it was, but thank God we picked up Trey Sermon.
Might have been off waivers, right?
It may have been off waivers. I'm not even 100% sure. No, it was in the draft because we debated we need to have the handcuff, but who was the handcuff? So
that's right. Okay. So
also, if he's on your waivers, grab him.
Yeah. Anytime Jonathan Taylor has an ankle injury, you got to be alarmed.
It's frequent every season.
So, all right, there's your diner update. You know, I thought maybe I had a chance to go 5-1 this week, but I had Chris Olave. I was up 11 points. I had Chris Olave. My opponent had Xavier Worthy and Kareem Hunt, and my night was done after the first quarter.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there at the Saints with Chris Olave and them, but it just
I can tell you.
Well,
I can
Kansas
tell you.
City doubled it. Kansas City's been shutting down wide receiver one.
Listen, and I'm glad you brought that up because Kansas City with wide receiver ones, they don't have a Patrick Surtain. Last year it was Snead, L'Jarius Snead, who moved on. And so, I kind of thought, okay, well, no more lockdown on wide receiver number one. No. Steve Spagnuolo, Spags, killing it. I mean, absolutely killing it. Taking away every number one receiver. So to me, after this week, it's very apparent that if I have somebody going against Kansas City who's a number one receiver, I might think about pivoting or
yeah, absolutely
figuring something else out.
Yeah, this is what we touched on last week is looking at defenses who are pass funnels, run funnels. Kansas City's defense, other than them not getting hit with pass interference calls, I'm just pointing out things that happen. They are shutting down wide receiver ones. So if you could get like a slot wide receiver or something like that in there against them, you're probably better off. Unless you're like at like a super stud, like Justin Jefferson, I would always start against the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, if Tua's back, always start against the Chiefs. But these other ones, like I wouldn't start Drake London against the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like you're just asking for trouble. I don't know what's going on, but they're shutting everybody down.
So we have exciting news for the Diners this week. We have a special segment. It's so special. It's so special. In fact, we're going to skip the workers permit this week, and we're going to double up next week. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough underage employees to come want to work at the diner this week, and so we're going to recruit 2 of them for the next episode.
Sounds bad when you say it like that.
Yeah, it does sound bad when I say it like that.
It sounds real bad when you say it like
we're trying to be on brand, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Workers permit, double up next week. Now, that brings me to our new exciting next segment. We're calling it the Employee of the Month, okay? Diners. Okay? So, I know we're recording on Tuesday and week 5 already happened, but just so you know, Thursday morning, we both decided our awards for the week, for the month. And so week 5 does not get included in this, but we're going to debut Employee of the Month. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Let me get my notes.
First award, the Everything We Thought Was Correct Award. This goes into thoughts going into the season that have played out correctly. Carrie, what who's your award winner?
Malik Neighbors. I was a firm
one.
believer in this. I've told everybody, especially me and you've had intensive conversations about this because you're a huge Marvin Harrison Jr. fan. And I went back and I looked. Malik Neighbors, he coming from LSU, he had a much harder schedule and stuff like that. And I believed in the talent of Malik Neighbors more than Marvin Harrison Jr. And he's done nothing but produce. Superstar in the making. He came out with a concussion. So, obviously that's something you pay attention to. But, he's young and stuff like that. And it's Malik Neighbors is my everything we thought was correct. Everything I thought.
So, okay. That's a good one. Malik Neighbors, he's electric. My everything we thought was correct award goes to Justin Jefferson being the best wide receiver in the league. Now listen, this dude is absurd. And I will say, going into drafts this year, because of the Sam Darnold and no Kirk Cousins and, just Minnesota being a question mark, you could get Justin Jefferson at pick 8, 9, 10, maybe even 11 or 12 in some of these drafts you guys had. Listen, he should have been drafted in the top 5, just like we did last year and the year before. Maybe even pick number 1, honestly.
Top 3 in my books.
Top 3, listen, people were taking Christian McCaffrey number 1 this year. I get it. But the last 2 years prior, Justin Jefferson was number 1 pick off the draft board in most drafts that I was affiliated with.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's sunk so low this year. And frankly, everybody was dumb.
In my opinion, he's quarterback proof. If you put the ball anywhere within his vicinity,
it's official. He is quarterback proof.
He's this generation's Jerry Rice. He's this generation's Megatron. And he catches whatever you throw at him. He's just an amazing athlete.
Number 2, the biggest surprise award. This through 4 weeks now. Don't forget, week 5 doesn't count. This is just for September, okay? But the biggest surprise award for me was the Denver Broncos, okay? Going into the season, I had them just the doo-doo butter of all doo-doo butters. And and frankly, the offense has been trash, but that defense, oh my God. The defense has been tearing it up. And again, for those of you who play FanDuel, you can tell the Broncos were one of the bottom 5 defenses for the first 4 weeks, and you could just play them and not bat an eye. They finally got back onto it this past week, and they had them up in the middle of the pack. But I assume that the Broncos are going to keep drifting toward the top, as they should be. They're really good. I don't know why everybody was making a big thing about the first white cornerback catching an interception in so many years. We don't want to make this a race thing.
No, but let's be honest. White cornerbacks have not been really a thing to, out there. But,
sure.
You know what I mean? Let's just be honest.
As 2 white dudes, we can say that.
Yeah. But
nobody was holding it down. And finally, this guy from the Broncos stepped up.
Broncos of all teams.
Right. Who was your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise was Sam Darnold. I'm going to be honest with you. Up until this season, Sam Darnold has just been a mediocre stream quarterback on a bye week to me. But through 4 weeks, the first 4 weeks, he's got 932 yards. Okay. So he's got 932 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns through the first 4 weeks. Now against the Jets, that's something else. That's week 5. But through the first month, he's been absolutely crushing it. He has, like I said, 932 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns. And he's got Justin Jefferson on his team, which obviously makes it a little bit easier for everybody, but it's great. But I love how Sam Darnold is. And I just it's surprising because he's coming from Carolina. Then I think he was drafted to the Jets. I think it was originally. Then he comes from Carolina where he had CMC. Then he lost CMC, but he was also able to keep DJ Moore. He was able to support DJ Moore with a weak offensive line and stuff like that. But now he's on Minnesota Vikings and he's airing it out, dude. His completion percentage for the first 4 weeks from week 1 to week 4 is 79.2, 65.4, 60.7, and 71.4. That is outstanding. In my opinion, he's if not the number one quarterback in fantasy right now. Then I just without the rushing and stuff like that, he's still absolutely crushing it.
So at the time of these awards, I would agree with you. Week 5 didn't look so good,
it
hindsight.
No.
But again, these are through September.
But dog, 4 out of 5 ain't bad.
That right.
No one goes undefeated in fantasy, dude. 4 out of 5 ain't bad. I'd be okay with a 4-1.
That's
right now.
it's when you have a 5 top table, sit down in the diner. 4 of them are happy, but then you got that one lady.
Yeah,
but one lady.
But you can still deal with it and be okay for the rest of the day.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
She ordered half and half, and this tea's too sweet.
That's right. All right, the next award we're calling the Burnt Toast Award. You guys know the Toast Report is a weekly segment about injuries. The Burnt Toast Award. This is the biggest injury, which,
in our opinion.
Well, right. And to me, this goes with, it's not the biggest injury like ACL tear versus ankle sprain. This is the biggest injury that impacts their team.
But before you announce it, his pick has devastated one of my teams. It is not just one, but 2.
Well, so
it is absolutely crushed 2. It is crushed 2 of my teams.
Toast Award nominee for sure.
But anyway, please.
You want me to go first?
Yes, sir. You go first.
All right. My Burnt Toast Award goes to none other than Tua Tagovailoa. Now,
leave it a Bama, leave it Georgia fan hurting.
Now, as soon as I say the name, but I got to tell you, at first when we both, came up with these awards, we both had CMC, and then the more I thought about it, here's my thing, right? San Francisco is still rolling. Now, their record may not reflect that, but San Francisco still has Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, all the plethora of weapons they have in offense and defense in the line and some of these other positions. San Francisco, the later it gets in the season, they always turn it up. So I'm not worried about San Francisco without CMC. Whether he's here sometime in the year or not, I'm not worried about San Fran. Miami, OMG.
And all the like crap talk people have said about Tua and how bad he was. Look at the immediate difference.
You say crap talk.
Yeah, I didn't want to swear. Sometimes kids are all the shit talking people have been saying about Tua all these years. Look at the immediate difference with him out. It is bad.
It's a conversation to be had.
It is.
And Mike McDaniels is also taking a lot of crap because everybody thought he was the new boy genius, and without Tua, the team just hasn't looked the same.
Yeah.
I think they're in trouble.
Yeah. So I have some news about him real quick. It's a real possibility that Tua comes back in week 8 against the Cardinals, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. That's when he's first eligible to come back off of IR. Obviously, he's been off for a few weeks. He suffered quite a few concussions last year, so that's something you need to pay attention to. He's reportedly symptom-free and has no plans to retire. Running back Devon Achane, wide receiver Tyreek Hill, and wide receiver Jalen Waddle, they need Tua back desperately. But it's not a guarantee he comes back then or what, but it's just you can see the difference in the talent and skills of how this team runs with Tua and without Tua.
Very much so. And you know what? With Tua, it's like it's just something about when he's in there, This offense is just so in tune. And when he's not, like, honestly, frankly, this award goes half to Tua, but half of it is to the freaking GM of the Dolphins. They had Mike White. They sent him to the Bills.
I love Mike White.
I love Mike White too.
Backup.
But like, listen, Joe Flacco was out there because the stupid ass Cleveland Browns let him walk right out of the locker room.
Should never let him go. He's so
should have never let him go.
Aaron, I don't care if he gets 3 interceptions, getting 5 touchdowns.
Never let him go. Okay, but there were other backups out here. Look at Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew went to the Raiders because they needed a starter, right? But as far as the Raiders are concerned, they might as well have just started Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew for the Dolphins right now, dude, we're talking about a whole different team.
Yeah, dude. We are. You are talking about a whole different team. And there were plenty of other like backups you could have got, but I mean, you got Tyler Huntley, and everybody's like, oh, he was back up to Lamar. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, he was the backup to Lamar Jackson, who never gets injured. Knock on wood.
And I mean, he made a Pro Bowl, but still.
Yeah, he did. But I mean, it's just, he's not too, and it, like I said, everybody shits on Tua, but it's like, Tua's actually really good. He was all-time yards leader. I think one or two, like, was it last year? He was all-time yard passing leader.
But that's the thing, bro. Baltimore, when Snoop Huntley was there, excuse me, he the Baltimore offense kind of runs itself, right? Miami is a high motion, high powered, very intricate offense that where if you're signing this guy 2 weeks off the street, you're doomed.
The only person you want to sign off the couch is Joe Flacco.
That's right.
But
that's right.
Tyler Huntley. So the Baltimore offense is based around a quarterback who can scramble and run. Miami's is not. I mean, Tua can get some yards here and there, but he's 6'1", 227 pounds, but he could throw the ball 60 yards down the field.
That's right. Did you want to add anything to CMC?
I mean, obviously CMC was a big time bust. A lot of people, it's like he's coming up on age, and you probably got one. He's coming off of offensive player of the year last year. He's got maybe 1 or 2 good years. In my personal opinion, this was like his last good year before he plateaus out and hits that cliff. But CMC is what we consider an outlier. So you really just don't know because
he seemed like the most obvious one.
His work ethic at the game and stuff like that is like none other. And he's just so good. And like honestly, I believe the Panthers are cursed because every player they've let go lately has done great. Sam Darnold, CMC, DJ Moore, they're all doing great now coming off the Cardinals. But CMC's injury was a huge upset to a lot because he did go in the first 4, like top 4 picks.
You know what saves them from being cursed?
What's that?
Chuba Hubbard.
You say that.
That's right. All right, the next award. The Grease Trap Award.
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, man. And the Grease Trap Award is the stinky, filtered sewage underground that needs removed, usually by a third-party company with a gigantic hose and a big tanker truck, and they always smell like shit.
If you've never worked in the restaurant business, you do not understand this. If you have ever worked in the restaurant business, you understand. No one ever back at the house wants to do the grease trap. It is 100% a mess, and it smells. There's a smell, and it's the same smell in any restaurant you ever go to. So everybody's, burnt grease always smells the same. It's like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Fryer grease is awful. It is a buildup. It is disgusting, but it makes delicious food. So here we are.
Once a month, the grease trap people come to the restaurant. They show up in like ratty ass tank top. They open the door, and the lingering smell of them sucking this stuff out of this gigantic pit, 13 underground. It stays with us for 2 hours while we work.
So gross and so bad.
So frankly, the Grease Trap Award should go to the grease trap workers who come in and suck the stinky filtered sewage out shout outs to y'all. But now for our NFL Grease Trap Awards, I have Doug Peterson. Congratulations. Come on down. And the Jacksonville Jaguars. Y'all stink.
As of the first 4 weeks.
Y'all stink. Now, I know in week 5. Now, by the way, again, these things that broadcast let us know, it was Trevor Lawrence's birthday on Sunday, and he came out. Now, they were playing the Colts. Let's not get it twisted, all right? Colts, anybody can pass on the Colts.
But Tank Bigsby and Brian Thomas Jr.
Anybody can score on the Colts, okay? All right. But before this week, the stinky filtered sewage underground smelled like Doug Peterson. Not going to lie. Like, this team, even going back into last year, where they were like, they put a run together for the playoffs and then just took a complete dump. And that's the sewage that the grease trap catches. Doug Peterson, I don't know if this is the guy for the job. I don't know. I don't even know what's going on in Jacksonville. Like, I thought Doug Peterson was the man. But something's going on there, and it smells stinky, so they get my Grease Trap Award.
My Grease Trap Award is the onside kick rule.
Stinky.
You have to tell the other team that you're doing an onside kick, which completely, I mean, it's now in the first 4 weeks, it did work one time, but it's not as fun to watch because you have plays that you remember, epic legendary plays, the Saints. And halftime, or was it halftime kickoff? They go through and they fake a kickoff and onside kick it. It was glorious because they didn't have to. You know what I'm talking about. It's like he ran up full speed and barely touched it and went 10 yards and they got the ball back and it didn't. They end up winning the Super Bowl that year because of that play and the resulting drive. Now you have to tell the other team that you're doing it so they can prepare for it. I think that's crap. So that gets my grease trap reward. Now, real quick before we come off of this, there have been talks in the NFL about taking the touchback kickoff on the kickoff, the touchback rule, moving it to the 35-yard line to stop people from doing it because they're still doing it. So, but anyway, that's my grease trap is the onside kick rule. And coming up next is our next one is what? Paying with all change award. Barely.
That's right.
Barely able to get a plate.
Everybody has been in this position before, right? When you go to a restaurant, whether it be McDonald's, whether it be Denny's, it doesn't matter what it is, right? When you go in and you know you're on a budget and you're paying in all change, it's a good feeling, right? Because you just made it.
Yeah.
You got that meal.
We've all been there, man.
We've all been there. But
I've been up to the corner
but
store.
You definitely know that everybody's looking at you a little sideways, right? So the paying with all change award, who's barely able to get a plate, but did and is eating. Yeah. Okay, this is what this award's about. You pay with all change, so you got your plate, but you're eating. For me, it's one of my loves that I talked about a couple episodes ago. It's Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes, right? Everybody wrote this man off.
We talked about him being a sleeper before the draft even started.
A sleeper before the draft started. I even said in one of our previous episodes, this guy to me is a can of green beans. You know what? He goes with anything. As long as his accoutrements are good, he's going to be fine. And look at Malik Neighbors. This dude is leading the league in receptions going into week 5. And I'm talking about Danny Dimes is running. He's winning games. He's throwing the ball. He looks terrible sometimes. Like, don't get it twisted. This is a can of green beans. He is not a 5-star a plate.
Dude,
okay,
just a visual of him running is hilarious.
Right. That's right.
Like
he looks like a gazelle. It takes a long time for him to get them legs moving, But when he does, he can make it
He
happen.
does not look like a gazelle, dog. He looks like
not a gazelle.
He looks like a Komodo dragon out there.
You're right. Terrible reference.
Gazelles are majestic. This man is uncoordinated, but he does it.
The opposite of a gazelle.
He does it. He gets out there and does it though. And he does. And everybody talks a lot of shit about him and stuff like that. But I mean, look at the team he's on. He's on the Giants. You know, they have Saquon Barkley. He's never had to really do any running. But now they got Malik Neighbors and all this stuff. No Saquon, and he's out there killing it. So I agree 100%. Dane Dimes is a great choice.
He's definitely not a gazelle.
He's definitely not. That's like, oh, he's an Impala out in the savannah. No, he ain't, dog.
No, he's
not. He's a goddamn sloth from Ice Age, dude. He does.
To be honest with you, if we're going animal route, he reminds me of one of those water buffalo where they're all crossing the Nile, and it's like 1,000 of them cross, and they all look ugly, and the crocodile is going to get a few of them, but those ones that make it across.
The video is called The Battle of Cougar.
The ones that make it across. Shout out to the Cougar Crossing. It is epic.
It is.
All right, what did you have? Paying with all change award.
Running back backups
have been. Shout.
They've been, I mean, honestly, if you think about and look at it, they've been doing much better. And specifically, I was saying this for backups such as Braylon Allen. Now, I don't know what's going on with Breece Hall in the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is back, and it's just not. Things aren't working out the way we thought they were.
This morning they fired Robert Saleh.
I know they fired him for whatever reason, because I don't know, whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers didn't like him.
He was bad.
He's the head coach. He's not the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator's been calling all the plays.
Dude, he's had so many years. Like,
that's fair. But there's also, there's other ways to go about that. But the offense on the Jets has been bad for years. To me, Aaron Rodgers is, if you have him on your team, I would fucking drop him. Honestly, I think he's washed out. I think if you have Garrett Wilson and you have Breece Hall, wait for a really good game, trade Garrett Wilson on a high note, hold on to Breece Hall, and just get what you can with them. But the running back backups have been killing it, because at the time of this writing, Ezekiel Elliott was Zeke was running back one, and now it's Rico Dowdle. You know what I mean? Rico Dowdle's putting up all the points. Zach Moss was the running back one. Then you got Chase out here doing much better, and Chase Brown. And it's been the backup. It's been the number twos, because the number ones have been vet players. You know what I mean? And now you just these backup running backs are doing really good. And on a dynasty, that's what you want. Stash them, hold on to them, pick them up. Tyrone
Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy, if he's on your waivers, grab him. He's doing really good while Singletary's out.
In Dynasty leagues, he shouldn't be on your waivers, but man, if he is, it's a full fab dump.
Yeah.
I was listening to the fantasy footballers today. They brought up a good point. Listen, Tyrone Tracy has a chance to take Devin's single digits job. Okay. Some of these other running backs you're going to get on waivers, it's just a Band-Aid until the starters come back. But Tyrone Tracy, legit, could be the RB1 for the Giants moving forward. Not a thing.
Yeah.
Not out of the question.
He's good.
Single digits is out for 2 weeks. Yeah. Tyrone Tracy, I would do a full fab dump. None of my leagues he's available, or else I would. I would literally dump 80% plus of my fab on Tyrone Tracy.
He's really, really good. And so hot take for you guys right now.
Ooh, hot take.
Hot take coming in fresh for your boy Carey.
Hot grits.
Breece Hall. Okay. I see Breece Hall getting traded off the Jets when his contract comes up, his rookie years comes up, and I see Braylon Allen taking over for that. I really do.
That would have been a hot take if they didn't just get rid of Saleh.
It's true.
We'll see what's going to happen.
It's still, I think it's going to be interesting.
Dude, the Jets without Breece Hall?
Hold on to Breece Hall, obviously, but Garrett Wilson, I'd wait for a big week from him, like, the one that just happened, and I would trade him.
Side note, I hope the Jets get Devontae Adams, because I think Garrett Wilson's production might double.
I think Aaron Rodgers washed out, but that's just me. Anyway.
See, I'm different. I think they get Devontae Adams.
I don't think
that'll take all the heat off of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson operating against cornerback number 2s. Oh, dude.
But you also got to remember, though, is Aaron Rodgers' favorite target on the team. Well, he's targeted Garrett Wilson 22 times. Garrett Wilson brought down 13 of those. So I haven't got a chance to sit down and watch these targets, but he brought down half of those targets, a little over half of those targets, 22 times. He caught 13 of them. There's something going on out there, unless everybody's focusing on Garrett Wilson. But they bring Devontae Adams in. It's going to be a Devontae and Allen Lazard show.
I completely disagree with you. I couldn't even disagree with you more.
I mean, we're not going to know until it happens.
That's true. But I'm saying
Aaron Rodgers,
Devontae
as of right
Adams takes quarterback number 1, cornerback number 1. Garrett Wilson is running around against the number 2s.
I mean, dude, we'll have to see.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. I want Garrett Wilson to do well. Believe me, I want him to do super well. But I just feel like Aaron Rodgers is a very particular about who he passes to, and he's hyper-targeting Garrett Wilson right now because he's the best wide receiver they have. But look at the efficiency Allen Lazard's been having with his targets. It's much more. So
yeah, I get that. I guess and also, the Jets are a wait and see, right?
Because but Aaron Rodgers,
they have changes coming, and
they got a lot of shit going on.
The Jets are going to look like.
They really do. And Aaron Rodgers, if I remember correctly, was injured. Something to do. Yeah, he has a low ankle strain, so who knows when he'll be back.
The next award, Holding Up the Line award. Holding up the line. Basically, when you're in line and you got those 3 people in front of you that are looking at the menu right when it's their time to order, looking confused, stagnated, slow. Just holding everybody up.
Yeah, could have been looking at it while they were in line.
That's right. So, Kerry, why don't you start us off?
I'll start us off with touchbacks on kickoffs. So they made all these rules. And all these this new way of doing it and this and that, and they're still hitting touchbacks. And it sucks. I want to see players get the ball. I want to see players get the ball and run it. And like I mentioned earlier, they're talking about making touchback kickoffs, moving them to the 35-yard line. Which, it's not that bad. So, no, that's a huge deal. That's a huge, huge deal. Instead of what they're doing right now, they're gaining more yards on touchbacks, which gives them more incentive just to kick it off to the person to give them more plays. I think it's a good idea. I don't know. The new kickoff rule, I think it's a great idea, but they didn't really address the touchback situation because, kick it off to a touchback. Say, oh, okay, they get on the 30. That's, or the 20, was it the 25 they get it on? Say, okay, so they get 5 more yards. That's, to me, doesn't penalize what they're trying to do enough.
Especially with kickers kicking it longer anyway.
Yeah, they could they could boot it into the crowd.
Like we're talking 70-yard field goals.
Yeah.
It's a touchback.
Yeah, from like a 10-yard run up.
Like at this point, if we're going to do this, let's just
do touchbacks to 40-yard
kickoffs, and let's just have the team take it from the 25 to start.
Or do what they do with safeties, punt it. If you punt it out of bounds, they get it on the 40.
There you go. Punting for kickoffs. Now, see, that's getting weird enough.
And now, if you make it like you punt it, you got a punter back there, but with the same kickoff rules where the teams line up. So you have a punter back there, and they punt it. They have to put it in within the agreed landing zone, or you know what I mean, or the catchable zone. And if it's a touchback, they get it back on the 40. Penalize the hell out of these guys for just because they can just run up and boot it. And they're getting $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. All they got to do is just kick it as hard as they can.
I like it. My holding up the line award is to the refs with all the damn penalties. Will y'all stop? Let me just take a second to talk about all the referees who are visiting the diner. Will y'all stop it?
Golly.
Like, listen. Now, most years, every season it starts out like this where the refs, they're throwing flags, and toward the end of the year, or as the season progresses, they stop with the flags, right? but I'm sick of it. Like, enough. Can we please stop with all the illegal formations and the ineligible downfield and all this stuff? Can we just stop? Can we just play freaking football? Okay, thank you.
No, I agree. The Ravens, specifically a game, Ravens versus the Chiefs game. The Ravens caught illegal formation like 5 or 6 times in the game. Kansas City did it. They didn't catch almost any.
Dude, we did these awards before the Week 5 game.
Oh, no, I know.
And
But
last night, I was watching the game on Monday night, the Chiefs and the Saints.
It's always
and I'm
the
like,
Chiefs.
Bruh, well,
It's always the Chiefs, dude. I don't know. I get that, there's always rumors. Oh, there's a script. I honestly believe the Chiefs, they're trying to three-peat this year. They're doing everything they can, but their players just keep getting hurt.
I saw a thing online today. It was like a TikTok, and it was this guy. He's like, I just got my brand new Kansas City Chiefs jersey out. And he opens the box, and he lifts the jersey, and it's a ref's jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
He puts it on, and then he sits in his lazy boy and throws the flag.
I see.
Like,
I seen a meme. I see the meme of the Chiefs just got a new end zone paint done, and it just says refs. I mean, like, we're cracking jokes and stuff like that, but yeah, it's pretty good. It just says refs. But I mean, honestly, like, go back and look. I mean, obviously, some plays, not everything gets caught, but there's some very blatant, like, pass interferences. There was that one. I think it might have been against the Ravens, where he was literally getting, like, the Chiefs defensive player was literally tackling the wide receiver. The ball is a foot behind, like 2 feet behind the defensive back, tackling the wide receiver in the end zone, and no flag was called. But then they had a video of when the Chiefs wide receiver was out there and the defensive back was behind him, jumping up behind him, not even touching him, got called for pass interference. I'm just saying they're biased against Chiefs. They're biased for the Chiefs. They want them to win, and I don't know.
Some say it's scripted.
Yeah,
the next award, we call it the Too Much Cheese Leads to Constipation Award. Oh boy, get those farts ready. I'm talking big stinky farts, because my award for the Too Much Cheese Leads to Constipation Award goes to none other
than your boy.
Than my team, the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun, listen.
I hate Deshaun Watson.
There's a lot of reasons to hate Deshaun. On, off the field, all that, right? Trust me, as a Browns guy, I'm not delusional to where I can write off, things like rape and things like that to be, oh, well, he's just a football player. But putting that aside, right? Let's just put that to the side, because that does not help his case. This guy sucks. Get out of here. You're walking off the field. The coach is looking at you like you are a piece of Limburger cheese, dude. He didn't want to call timeout. We had this thing going, and you're walking off. Players are walking off before the coach even calls timeout. Dude, get them out. Get them out. All you Cleveland Browns fans out there who are listening, which is probably 0, maybe 1, but I'm telling you,
get them, Gabe.
This is terrible. And I'm so sick of living this my whole life, right? 38 years of watching this crazy constipation. It's got to go. I'm so sick of it. We had Joe Flacco take us to the playoffs, man. And what did we do? We got rid of him for Jameis Winston, who, by the way, can sling the ball. Okay? Jameis Winston, a fan.
Joe Flacco came off the couch and did better than Deshaun Watson.
But you know what? That's not fair, because Joe Flacco is showing that he still had it.
He does.
Okay? He still had it. But my point is that we let him walk. We bring in Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston can sling the ball. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody knows that. He might throw a lot of
100%.
interceptions. He can sling it.
It's just like
But
Joe
I'm
Flacco.
still starting Deshaun Watson. You got to get out. Get this constipation award winner out and go let him eat cheese in Green Bay or wherever the hell he wants to go. But I'm sick of it. All right, thank you.
I don't like that.
I needed to get that out.
That's
Thank
fair.
you.
I mean, I can see it. I can feel the relief off your chest.
I'm sick of it.
I don't like Deshaun Watson because he's the reason why these contracts are getting out of control. He's like the trendsetter. What did he get? $250 million to come play for Cleveland.
Dude, we can do a segment about that. What's your award? Too much cheese leads to constipation.
Too much cheese leads to constipation to former cheesehead Aaron Rodgers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, cheesehead for
before week 5. Now he had this down before.
No, we're gonna take it all the way back because sometimes cheese clogs you up for longer than you think. Okay, his last couple years in Green Bay, not good. He was not good. And then he comes to the Jets, and he's the saving grace in the Jets. I believed in him. I'm like, yes, Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl MVP, Hall of Famer is coming to the Jets. He's got Garrett Wilson. He's got all these tools around him, this and that. 33 seconds into the first game of the season last year, tears his Achilles. Okay. Tears his Achilles, comes back. Finally this year, everybody's, this is gonna be it. I believed in it. And then he just kind of he's not it. It's over. I 100% believe it's over. I believe he's past his prime. He's not taking football as serious as it used to be. It's more just a paycheck for him. And just go ahead and get rid of this cheesehead because you're gonna sit there constipated, and then when eventually that dump comes out, which is Aaron Rodgers, and you dumping him off your team,
my only pushback and
you're going to feel better.
Dog, is like at 40 years old, when you miss a whole season, do you expect him 4 weeks in to
no, not 4 weeks in, but I expect more out of a former stud athlete. I do, but it's just I don't get it. His whole offseason personality and this whole. He's a hippie. You know what I mean? He's like,
so what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not what I want. I want a professional athlete.
Well, sure.
I'm just saying. What I'm saying is that over the last few years, you go look back the last 4 or 5 years, it's been a steady decline of it. Okay, and when you eat enough cheese, you take a dump, and it's a hard dump to take. It's a difficult dump to take, but you need to dump them. In your expectations of him, because it's not getting better.
Well, so I get that. My question to you is that have we been jaded by Tom Brady? Tom Brady came in. This man was like 58 years old.
You can't
winning Super Bowls, and now I feel like because people are doing the same thing to Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, we'll get to him later. We'll get to him later in the episode because I'm gonna rep for Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, 4,000-yard quarterback. Shut your mouth.
But so is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. But what I'm saying is that I feel like everybody since Tom Brady came back to Tampa and did all that and won the Super Bowl, there's an unrealistic expectation of these guys who are aging, right? Russell Wilson's in that category. There are other quarterbacks that
I get what you're saying, but Aaron Rodgers time, like people, I expected more than what Aaron Rodgers is putting out. But it's a simple fact that even if I could get the Aaron Rodgers of 4 years ago, I'd be okay with that. But since his last Super Bowl appearance, Aaron Rodgers has been steady down the hill.
I get what you're saying. Honestly, like
he's a constipation that you just need to dump him out.
I get that. I get that. I feel like, yes, I agree with you. He is constipated right now, right?
This has come from a Garrett Wilson first-round draft pick owner.
Sure. I feel like Aaron Rodgers might mess around and win a Super Bowl next year. Taking a year off is tough at his age. And I feel like this year he might
I feel like he's not.
I just feel like we owe him. He's done enough in his career where I feel like we owe him, a grace period. That's
no. I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is he's not. Yeah, okay. Garrett Wilson got 22 targets last week, which was week 5, so we're not counting that because these are all week 4 and above. But it's like, it just feels like when you watch him, he doesn't want to be there.
Well, now that Robert Sala's gone, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
The next award, the 2 Eggs Your Way Award. And that is no matter how you order them, they always do right by you.
Over easy on
and
some
they
toast,
can be done in many ways. You got over easy, over medium, over hard, fried, sunny side up. However you want 2 eggs your way,
Benedict.
You can get it. And they always do you right because you order it how you want it. My award for the 2 eggs your way is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now listen, just so you guys know, this is hard for me, okay? Because I am a Cleveland guy. So I have grown up not the biggest fan of Pittsburgh, right? But I have to respect them. And everybody has to respect them. First of all, Mike Tomlin, of course, they did this big piece on Sunday night. And everybody knows Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. And everybody knows this. But I gave this award for the first month to Pittsburgh because of this, right? First of all, week 1 and 2, TJ Watt should have been the quarterback.
TJ Watt should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year.
Not to throw, but I mean, this guy, Pittsburgh would not have won without TJ Watt. This dude was blowing up every play, disrupting the whole game. I mean, TJ Watt is the man. We all know that, right? And then Justin Fields gets in there. Week 3, he gets comfortable.
Love it.
He starts slinging it. Okay, Justin Fields, he can figure it out. And then week 4, it was just a whole team effort. Nobody did good. Nobody had a stat line that was worth a damn. But you know what? They won. And the team, this is Pittsburgh, okay? This is what they do. It is a truly team effort. And no matter what phase of the offense, it could be special teams, offense, defense, it doesn't matter. These guys, through the month of September, have been winning games from all levels. And so that's why I gave them the 2 Eggs Your Way award. What about you, homie?
Listen, I love Justin Fields. Do not sit on him. If you have a chance to acquire him for something cheap, do it. But my 2 eggs my way was Nico Collins. All right, he's always there for you. He puts out numbers. He gets it done. So for me, it was Nico Collins. Fun fact: when our first dynasty draft, we were drafting. I asked my son. I said, "Hey, out of these 2 players, it was Nico Collins, and I can't remember who the other player was." I said, "Who would you pick?" And he picked Nico Collins. So I said, "Okay, we'll go with him." And I picked him. This is last year. I picked him, and he did amazing. Like, it was insane how well he did, and it's crazy to go back and think. It's like, I would not have picked him other than my son coming to me and saying, pick this guy. So I picked him. I took a chance on him, and he is absolutely crushing it. Week 4, he was through weeks 1 through 4, he was the number 1 wide receiver. Now, after week 5, just so everybody knows, I'm hit you with a little bit of a little piece of the toast report on Nico Collins, who's out for a couple of weeks. Head coach D'Amico Ryan says, it takes a couple of weeks for a hamstring, so they're going to evaluate him week to week basis. It's not exactly a concrete timetable for Collins, so we don't really know when he's going to come back. So be ready for multi-game absence of Nico Collins. Keep an eye on him this week to see if he, practices and stuff like that. But I really doubt he's going to play this Sunday against the Patriots. Without Nico Collins, if you have Stephon Diggs or Tank Dell, I would start them for sure. Start them. Xavier Hutchinson, you can start him if you're in a bind. If he's on your waivers, he's a wide receiver 3. If you really, really need somebody, But Xavier Hutchinson.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. If Nico Collins is out and you don't have Stephon Diggs, you don't have Tank Dell, but you're in a serious bind, Xavier Hutchinson, you can start him, but I would not expect much from him. But Nico Collins, first 4 weeks, he's wide receiver number 1 in my opinion.
The opposite of Xavier Hutchinson is our next award. It's the Steak and Eggs Award.
Ooh.
This is this is the MVP of September. The Steak and Eggs Award. We don't even need to explain what this award's about. This award, you already know. Steak and Eggs. It's the winner. It's the MVP. Kerry, who you got?
Jaden Daniels, dude.
That's right.
Jaden Daniels has been on. A lot of people looked over him on the on drafting him and stuff like that, but I always liked Jaden Daniels. He was one of my favorite draft picks. I liked him a lot more than I like Caleb Williams. I could tell you that right damn now.
How many teams do you have him on?
Jaden Daniels, unfortunately, I was only able to get him, I think, on one team because of former picks and stuff like that. But Jaden Daniels, through the first 4 weeks, okay, you have to understand how efficient this guy has been with his running and his passing. Yeah, so through the first 4 weeks, you got week 1 at 184 yards, which not great, but it's his first NFL game. The next week, 226 yards. Week after that, 254 yards. Week after that, 233 yards. So combined total in his first 4 weeks, 897 yards. Okay. Now that only comes off 3 touchdowns. When you're asking, well, it's not that many touchdowns. And you would be absolutely correct. It is not that many touchdowns, but it's also on the Commanders. So you have to look at that kind of stuff like that. And then you have to also understand he also rushes the ball. He is exactly what you're looking for in a quarterback, okay? So on his where is it at? Here, I have it right here. So far on his first 4 weeks, his first 4 weeks rushing, week 1, he had 16 carries for 88 yards. Week 2, 10 carries, 44 yards. Week 3 against Cincinnati, 12 carries, 39 yards. And then week 4 against the Cardinals, 8 carries, 47 yards. So you see the trend there. It's like, yeah, his carries are going down, down, down. But then, I mean, you're looking at, what is that? That's roughly 200 and something, 300 yards, correct? So you're looking at a mobile quarterback and a guy who is so accurate with his passes and stuff like that, and he's so clean looking. It is,
dude. I don't know the stats, but this is what
amazing.
I can tell you for Steak.
It's 218 rushing yards.
I can tell you for Steak and Eggs.
Wait, real quick before you cut in, 4 rushing touchdowns. That's averaging 1 a game in the first 4 weeks.
Every time I watch this guy, and I don't know why, I can tell you that Washington played the Browns one time, and maybe it's just because these guys are scoring so much that they're always on the red zone.
They played the Browns week 5.
But like Jaden Daniels, listen, this is what I can tell you. Every time I watch this dude, you just know he's going to get the first down. Like, this is the first time in so long. Were they on a Sunday night game or a primetime game last week?
Like against Cleveland? Or week 4? Week 4 was a Sunday. I don't have a time for it. It was a Sunday game. They beat the Cardinals 42-14.
Okay, it doesn't matter. One of these games, I was watching Jaden Daniels, and I swear to God, like, every time it was 3rd and something.
That's the Monday night game against the Bengals.
That's right. That's it.
38-33.
It was the Bengals game. And every time he got the ball, and I'm like, man, they can't stop him. And every time this guy just went and got a first down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was wild.
You know what it reminds me of? His comp reminds me of?
Who?
Is Josh Allen.
To me, it's Lamar.
No, I didn't.
Lamar.
No, to me, it's Josh Allen because the passing's better and he doesn't rush as much as Lamar. You know what I mean?
No, see, to me, it's Lamar because he rushes a lot.
Well, maybe
the passing is better.
Maybe it's a combination of both then.
Well,
Josh Allen's passing is way better.
I would trade for this guy. I'd give up 2 first picks for Jaden Daniels.
If I had the opportunity to pick up Jaden Daniels in a trade, I would. In a dynasty trade, absolutely. You're going to give up a lot, but Jaden Daniels is definitely a future quarterback.
For sure. for sure.
I mean, he went against the Cleveland Browns defense carrying. He had 11 carries for 82 yards. That's a lot
against Cleveland, who's
yeah.
a formidable defense.
Yes.
Now, my Steak and Eggs award for the MVP of September is Aiden Hutchinson. The guy in fantasy streets gets not talked about because we don't play defenses. But Aiden Hutchinson, and as much as this hurts me because he's a Michigan guy, listen, let me give you let me just read off some stat lines after 4 weeks for Aiden Hutchinson. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
16 total tackles, 6.5 sacks, 16 total tackles over 4 weeks. That's 4 tackles a game. Just for those of you keeping math. 6.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, and he has 17 quarterback pressures more than the second place dude after 4 weeks. This is insane, y'all. Like, and with Detroit, when you play Detroit in fantasy, you know that you play the passing game. You don't play the running game. This dude has everything to do with that. He is electric, and y'all need to watch out for him. Now, those were all awards. I hope y'all have enjoyed those. We spent a lot of time on our awards. This was our first awards ceremony. I enjoyed it.
Was.
I hope y'all did. So now we're going to have to fly. We're going to have to fly like a ticket on the fly. You know when you put that order in, aka you thought you put that order in, but you really didn't. And so we went through the awards show, but now you really need your steak and eggs. It's on the fly. So we're just going to fly through some things. So for taking inventory, listen, these are just my thoughts. You can chime in after. I'll just go first. I had Primetime Kirk. That whole stigma on Primetime Kirk, it's over with. This guy has showed me in 2 out of 5 weeks. He is here on Primetime. He's on a mission. Kirk Cousins looks like a man on a mission.
He's knocked the rust off.
He looks like a man on a mission. And he's tied for 10th all-time in passing yards in a game. Like just from Monday night. Baker Mayfield, the footballers, somebody wrote in and called him Laser Mayfield. I kind of like that because that's what he's looking like, Laser Mayfield. Should we adopt that name?
We can,
okay,
if they let us.
Pittsburgh, Dallas. What a terrible game to watch.
Rick O'Donnell.
I wanted to poke my eyes out. The only thing I have to say about that is that TJ Watt, he got 100 sacks. He's the second youngest to do it. Other than who? Can you make a guess?
No, I can't.
Reggie White, who's an all-timer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
TJ Watt. Oh, man. Oh, and my other note from that game, for George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth's sake, can we please get Russell Wilson in the game? Get freaking Fields out. He looked terrible. Anyways, that's it.
I guess some things to say real quick. Drake May is set to start for Week 6, according to NFL. Oh well, I'm just trying to fly through this.
I thought we were going to go game by game.
Well, my bad. Okay,
do you have anything about Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, or Dallas?
No. First of all, Justin Fields is doing great for Pittsburgh. I do have something for Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson's practicing with the second squad. Why would they get Justin Fields out when they're winning? Justin Fields is practicing with the second squad.
Did you watch the game?
Or not Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's practicing with the second squad. No, I had other things to do.
Okay, if you did watch the game, you would agree with me to get him out of here.
Russell Wilson is a full go with the second team workout. Mike Tomlin said Tuesday quarterback Russell Wilson calf won't have any restrictions in practice, but Wilson will work with the second team as to not disrupt Justin's preparation. Fields will start Sunday game against the Raiders, but who knows beyond that?
Are we combining inventory and toast report?
No, you asked me if I had any information on that game, and I just gave you information on the game.
Okay. Other notes that I had, Jamar Chase went crazy. We all know he can. Cincinnati looks officially awoken.
Their
They had
defense
their
is
like
garbage.
4-week slow slumber
The
start.
classic Bengals slow start.
Yeah, I mean, they look good. I do have a star here for my own notes on the Cleveland game. It says star. I hate the Browns pissing best opportunity away.
Well, yeah, you gave a shitty player $250 million.
No. This is more about Myles Garrett and all the great defense. We have Mike Vrabel as a defensive coordinator. Like, this is what the Browns do. This is what the freaking Browns do. We piss it away. We love it. It is miserable being a Browns fan. For those of you out there, we all can bond together. Jaden Daniels is the cheat code. We just talked about that.
Kyler Murray had a huge run and huge plays in the air against San Francisco. That was something everybody was.
Doesn't he look like
see.
a cartoon when he's
Dude,
running?
it's small steps. It's the small
He
small
looks like a
strides.
cartoon, dude.
Yeah, well, it's the small strides. He's taking like 5 strides per yard. It's like,
To me,
yeah,
when
it's
I was
hilarious.
watching it, he looked like Roadrunner running from Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and that's what he did. That was a fun game to watch.
They had the Ayuk game though, finally.
Yeah, Ayuk finally showed
Everybody's
up.
been waiting on that.
But I mean, 1-5 is not great games. That's not a great show up. I still.
Well, dude, he didn't have a preseason. Let's give Ayuk.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, when, like I said, players get the bag, they don't do good this season. Season up. So.
All right, listen. I have 2 games I want to talk to you about.
We got, yeah.
The Giants and Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's the DK Metcalf sucked.
Danny Dimes in a contract year. Let me ask you a question.
Daniel Jones not in contract year. He just got paid.
He's not in a contract year?
I don't think so. He's got like $100 million.
I thought that was a few years ago, no?
I'll double check it. You talk what you want to.
All right. Well, so my takeaway from this, and like honestly, when I was watching this, Danny Dimes, this season through 5 games, he's earned himself a backup position for decades. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure. Okay.
He can be a backup for decades.
So Daniel Jones' contract runs through 2026, and 2027 would be the year they wouldn't have him.
Okay, fair enough. That was my note, is backup for decades.
They paid him $160 million.
Okay, so he's going to get his money.
Guaranteed.
And then he's just going to disappear
guaranteed
on random teams' benches, and he's going to be good when people get injured.
It's going to be the Joe Flacco of the next generation.
I mean, I'm telling you, the way injuries are happening in the NFL, he's going to be just fine. Also, I had a note. Did you see the video of Jackson Smith and Jigba in the Seattle game when he did the fake catch?
Oh, dude, that was great. He had fooled.
So you saw that?
He had 2 defenders on him, and he fooled the shit out of them.
Listen, Danny Dimes is rolling out of the pocket.
It was so good.
Or I'm sorry, Geno Smith, not Danny Dimes. Geno Smith is rolling out of the pocket. JSN has 2 defenders on his ass. Okay. And he goes and he keeps turning his head back to the left.
He stuck his hand out.
He put his hands up like the ball's coming to him. But I'm talking for 35 yards. And these 2 DBs followed him as if he was going to catch the ball for 35 yards. He had his head turned, hands were up like he was going to catch the ball.
The worst part about that is if Geno Smith had thrown it to him, he would have caught that ball.
That was a touchdown.
He was like a step and a half in front of these guys.
That's the problem. Yeah. Geno Smith really was 2 seconds too late.
But Geno Smith,
a touchdown
Geno
pass.
Smith had a defender on his ass. You know what I mean? He did the
JSN, my man, Ohio State Buckeye.
That was great.
Smart.
That was so good, dude.
It really made me smile.
He made these 2 defensive backs look silly.
He really did.
Dude, if you get a chance, Go back and watch that video. It is hilarious. Like, he really does. He turns his head and everything and sticks his hand out like he's calling for the pass, and then he stops and he takes another like 4 or 5 steps and puts both hands out like he's catching a ball, and they're just sucked into it. It was so funny. It was a great time. Good call. Good. That's what you call a professional wide receiver. I mean,
Now,
you know what I mean?
I got one more thing for you. Caleb Williams.
Nope, don't care.
He looks so good.
Oh, okay. You look good 1 week.
Okay, I just want to get your opinion.
Who do you play,
are
Dan?
Officially on record.
Dan, who do you play?
You are the Diners Caleb Williams hater.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to give you a chance.
Who did you play?
No, I get it's Carolina.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
It's Carolina. What did I tell you at the beginning of the season? He does good against bad defenses.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, just for the record.
He does good against, if you need a streamer against a bad defense and it's Caleb Williams, sure, pick him up. I don't blame you for that. But if you want a starter, don't start Caleb Williams every week. You put him up against a subpar defense, he can't handle the pressure.
All right, now we have a special thing. Well, I don't know, Kerry, what you want to do, man? We can go super long tonight because this was an award show ceremony that we went long on, or we.
I have a real quick list on the Toast Report. Most of it's already known. I could bang it out real quick in like 3 minutes.
All right, let's get it.
So we'll start off with the most obvious, Rashee Rice. Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice underwent a successful surgery on Tuesday to repair his LCL, as well as a hamstring tendon, according to insider Jordan Schultz. He'll miss the rest of the 2024 season, so he's out. But Rice's ACL or meniscus was not damaged at all. A full recovery is expected. Schultz adds, no long-term concerns. This is the best case scenario. So Rashee Rice is out for the season. If you can pick up somebody off that offense right there. Aaron Jones is week to week with a hip injury. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell labeled running back Aaron Jones week to week with a hip injury he suffered in the win over the Jets. It looks like we've avoided a long-term injury, O'Connell added. Jones gets a well-timed week 6 bye, although it's unclear if he'll be ready for week 7's game, so that's something you need to pay attention to. If he isn't, if you can now get Ty Chandler, which is the backup, he'll step in if Aaron Jones is unable to play. Cordell Patterson's out. Cordell Patterson's out with an ankle, and Jalen Warren with a knee injury is doubtful for week 6. So Najee owners, it seems to be a full tilt for a major workload. Russell Wilson's a full go. We talked about that. He'd be participating with the second team. Derek Carr suffers an oblique injury in the fourth quarter on Monday night's game against the Chiefs. He's scheduled for MRI on Tuesday to get a better look at the damage. Quote, not good, Carr said when he was asked how he felt afterwards. David Njoku just came back. We were so excited because we drafted David Njoku with high hopes. We kind of kicked the tight end position a little bit in our draft, and we picked up David Njoku at a decent round. But came back, and now he has injured a knee in week 5 against Commanders, and had an MRI on Monday. Head coach Kevin Stefanski said Stefanski didn't have any, whatever. didn't have any details on the results in MRI, so we're not really sure. So pay attention to that. And Njoku just returned from a week 1 high ankle sprain and is now dealing with a new lower body injury. This is something to keep an eye on. If you have them, you can hold them. Dynasty is not a bad hold. Joe Mixon's uncertain for week 6. Head coach D'Amico Ryans said that Monday that Joe Mixon's ankle is definitely improving, but wouldn't say whether Mixon will be back for this weekend's game versus the Patriots. Mixon returned to Friday's practice ahead of week 4, but didn't participate at all this past week. So keep an eye on that. Nico Collins is out for a couple of weeks. Head coach D'Amico Ryan said it takes a couple of weeks for a hamstring. So they'll evaluate it week to week. be prepared for him to miss multiple weeks. So we went over that. Xavier Legette is day to day with a shoulder injury. Panthers head coach Dave Canales labeled wide receiver Xavier Legette day to day with a shoulder injury, like I just said, that knocked him out of Sunday's loss to the Bears. Legette spoke to the media after the game and said that he expects to be ready for this weekend's game against the Falcons. And again, Aaron Jones has a little ankle sprain, so pay attention to that. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, I like in my opinion, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who to tell you to start. I don't know what. Brees Hall is a must start.
Probably be Ty Chandler.
Yeah, Brees Hall, not for Aaron Jones or Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, I did Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers, low ankle sprain. I can't tell you.
Tyrod Taylor.
I can't tell you to start Garrett Wilson. I can't tell you not to start him. I just do not know with Tyrod Taylor. But I can tell you Brees Hall is a very strong start. So, and that will do it for our Toast report. Obviously, there's some other injuries out there, but those are, a little more well known. So,
all right. So listen, Diners, we're going way over tonight. It was an awards ceremony, but we have our Diner question. I thought about pushing it to the next week, but
our first Diner question.
That's what I mean.
So it's important to us.
You're right.
It's important to us.
It is very important, right? If this was a normal question, we'd probably push it, but it is the first. So we're going to get to it. And I actually love the question. Okay. It's coming from Sam off of YouTube. Okay. He says, "What up, Dan and Carrie? Long time Diner," which I love that.
Yes,
because it's only been 5 weeks long. I love that.
Absolutely.
Commenter. Listen, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
We
love a regular, dog. Thank you, Sam.
Have a few questions and would love to hear your opinions. And I'll tell you, this guy brought the heat, okay, with the questions.
Some good ones.
These are some juicy questions. I'm talking.
And for those of the diners who are here coming towards closing time, we appreciate you guys sitting through it.
Yeah. We know this is a long episode, but thank you for sticking in there. We had our first awards ceremony. We got our first question and answer. This is exciting for the Diner. And thank 100%. You for those of you who are just hanging in there with us. All right. Question number 1. When do you know in a dynasty season if you're a competitor and go all out to win that season, or if you're a rebuilding team and you look to stack picks and younger players? You want to take that first, or you want me to go?
Well, I mean, how many weeks do you have in your normal leagues? It's 12 weeks for trade deadline.
We're splitting hairs here.
Well, no, it matters. So you're 12 weeks to your trade deadline. Then was it week 14 starts the playoffs? Or is it 15?
And normally it's 14.
Yeah, so week 14 starts your playoffs. So you have...
No. It's 15.
Was it 15?
It's the start of the playoffs. Normally.
So I would say when to make your decision is if you have a somewhat of a winning record, or you're right there, right at the halfway point, and you get to week 7 or 8 and you start, picking up momentum and stuff like that. And you're like, you go from 3-3 to 4-3, then 5-3. Now you officially have a winning record, correct? And you have a winning record over half the season. About week 9 or week 10, and if you're struggling with that, that's when I would decide. If you're not in the winning side by week 9, and you're under your game win loss ratio, then you probably should start looking to trade players, stack players, look for players who are contending, and try to get their first round picks, second round picks, and stuff like that from them with quality players.
So to me, I would advise all diners to reference, the episode, was it before or the episode before that? Either way.
Because you said week 4.
Week 4 what?
That's when you suggested rebuilding.
No. What I suggested was that the first 4 weeks you sit and do nothing and you watch. And then the next 3 weeks after week 4, so 5, 6, and 7, is when you really got to figure out if you're a contender, if you're in a rebuild, or if you don't know what's
Yeah,
happening.
I say week 9 because that's when, if you have a winning record going into week 9, chances are you are on the upper side of your league.
Sure. I mean, I guess that's true for the I don't know players, but to me, early bird gets the worm. So I've got to give props to these teams out here who decide at week 5 and 6, look, I'm a rebuild, because that's the hardest part to stomach is when you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm not going to win. So
I
to
feel like
me,
that depends on your record, though. I mean, you're talking.
this is a different conversation.
But you're talking a third of the way into the season. I'm talking at the midway point where you either have a winning record or you don't. You're closer to the trade deadline, and there's only
To me, that's too late.
no way, dude. Why would you decide, oh, I'm going to tank after week 5?
No, not tank.
No, well, okay, you're going to say I'm going to rebuild after week 5. You could go on the run. You could go.
Well, this is assuming you can look in the mirror and look at your team and decide, do I have a team that can make it? Because by week 5, 6, 7, you see who's at the top of the league.
I think that's too early.
Okay.
I think by week 9. I think week 9, because most trade deadlines are week 12. So you're 3 weeks away from your trade deadline.
Okay.
Right.
So let me give you some stats. Hold on. Because what you're saying, I kind of agree with you. Okay. So hold on. My thing is, when do you know if you're going to be a competitor, right? So I did some research. My little nugget of the week this week. I looked at the AFC and NFC, like in real life, the football schedules. These are all teams who are 2-3 or 3-2, right? So basically within one game of 500. Okay. In real life, you have 20 teams out of 32 teams total who are 2-3 or 3-2. That's a 62.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now stick with me. I looked in. Now, again, these are my dynasty leagues that I'm in. So, of course, these numbers, might be different for everybody. But I'm in 6 leagues. So I counted them all up. Okay. 35 out of 54 dynasty league teams are 2-3 or 3-2, which is 64.8%. So that's basically a difference of 2.3%. Okay. Now look at the NFL. If you think that the NFL has parity right now because all these teams are mediocre, it's the same in dynasty football. It's the same in dynasty football. Most teams in my leagues are right at 500, okay? So in this particular instance, it is a little too early to tell unless you have that eagle eye where you can look at your lineup. This was me last year. On paper, my names look good. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like I had a chance.
But you traded a lot of your players early.
Well, so I decided last year I was going to go for the strategy of a rebuild. That was my choice. Some people, when you're 500 or around there, you're going to go the other way, and it may or may not work out. So this is my point, okay? Again, this is all up to individual perspective, okay?
It's how your team is built.
That's correct. It's
100% how your team is built, because the major factors in deciding if you're going to rebuild or not is, one, bye weeks. Okay, how many players do you have are going to go onto these major bye weeks? All right, the major bye weeks this year are going to be week 10 and week 12. Those are when they have the major team, or not the major teams, but this is the weeks that have the most teams on bye weeks. Okay. So if you can't win on the bye weeks and weeks 10 and 12, then yeah, obviously you shouldn't. But weeks 4 and 5, that's why I'm saying week 9 is the sweet spot. If you are not on the up and coming, or you're not at 500, that's when you should decide, okay, I'm not going to make it this year. I have good players. I can trade them. I have an extra player I can trade off that's doing really well or coming up right now that you could trade off to a team that is majorly positive in their winning to help them get to championship. But you recuperate draft picks, recuperate younger players and stuff like that. So week 9 to me, that 8 and 9 range is good because then when week 12 comes, when most trade deadlines end, you have a 3-week bye period to get your other players either out or accumulate younger players and picks.
Fair enough. And so I'm gonna take the second part of the first question and dump it into the second part of this question. The second part of this question, well, the second question is, how much do you value age when making trades in Dynasty? I joined my first Dynasty league last year, and I think I valued young players a bit too much.
This is a good question.
Well, so this is me versus you in a nutshell, Kerry.
Yeah.
Because we've had this talk so many times, right? So for me, for all you out there, I value youth. Okay.
Got nothing wrong with youthful players.
I will say, okay, I have been involved in a lot of first-time drafts for Dynasty, okay? This is not the footballers. This is not these other people out here who have been in Dynasty leagues for 10 years, right? I can tell you about 2 years of experience. Now, having said that, my personal preference on a rebuild, or no, I'm sorry, not a rebuild. I'm sorry. Let me. I should be.
Dane is a rookie junkie.
Yeah. Yes. So my opinion on a startup draft is that I don't ever go into a league expecting to do much the first year. Okay. What I do is I go in and I try to acquire a lot of young pieces who I can try to build my team around, right? Because in Dynasty, I want a dynasty, right? I'm trying to put together like 3, 4, 5 chips in a row, right? That's a dynasty. So now it blows the first year. It really sucks. Like it's tough, okay? And a lot of it depends on your league mates, and there's a lot of factors who are involved, right? But like my first year, I usually go young, and I'm talking young. But I do my research, and I try to get the young players who I think are studs. Okay.
So just so everybody's aware, our first Dynasty league, Dan's team originally he had full of vets. He had full of I wouldn't say like rookies or nothing like that, but they were younger players and stuff like that. And he traded around and ended up with a lot of first round draft picks. Now, after the draft, and we're 5 weeks into this season, his average age on his team is 24.5 years old. And in that specific league, he is the second youngest team there is. My team is 25.4 years old, which is you're cutting onions here. You know what I mean? One layer, this layer, that layer, and it's just this is something to pay attention to because Dane has a much younger team than some of the other players. But the number one ranked person in our league right now is at 24.2 years old. He's got the youngest age people, and his team is ranked like he's number 2 in quarterbacks, number 2 in running backs, number 1 in wide receivers.
Which league?
This is Dynasty Allen.
Heard.
This is our first league. So Dan originally drafted a little bit older than that, and then he traded off players like Kenneth Gainwell, or not Kenneth Gainwell. He traded off Kenneth Walker. He traded off Kenneth Walker.
Andre Hopkins.
Like
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he traded Kenneth Walker off like 2 weeks before he got injured and was out for like 6 games. So, I mean, but to be fair, Kenneth Walker at the time was the number 3 running back in Dynasty. So these are the risks you take when trading off a veteran player. And Kenneth Walker's really not that old. But these are the risks you take when you trade a veteran player off. They do tend to get injured more often and stuff like that. So it really is up and down.
And I will say, the second part of this question is, this guy Sam said he valued the young players a bit too much.
Nothing
personally.
wrong with that.
Listen, okay, so I just want to speak on that for a second. Okay, you can't overvalue young players too much if they're the right young players, right?
If they're the right ones, yes.
So on my original draft, I had Jordan Addison and Jaden Reed. Okay, these were two young players that I was all in on,
Yep.
and they smashed.
Especially
like
Jalen
if you
Reed.
remember last year,
Great
Jordan
pick.
Addison, like Justin Jefferson was hurt. Jordan Addison was killing it.
Yep.
I mean, he was killing the game. Okay,
And it's very situational.
that's exactly right. But I will tell you, like, this is dynasty, so you're in for the long haul, right?
Nothing wrong with getting young players.
So Jaden Reed and Jordan Addison were two good picks. Now, I had some other young guys.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't pan out. Marvin Mims, what a bust. He's a dust bucket.
Caught him in a trade, too.
I can't even trade him for anybody, right? Like Marvin Mims was a young guy that I was into. Didn't matter, right? I took some young running backs. They were not good, okay? In the offseason, I ended up having to parlay a lot of my players and picks into older running backs. Right now, I'm sitting on Josh Jacobs, okay? That is not a young player. I didn't draft him, but I have him because I parlayed some of my young guys into that. So, again, this is all, league dependent too, right?
It's league dependent, team dependent. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have a problem with taking a younger player, but when it comes down to it, are you going to take the risk on a younger rookie player versus a veteran player that you have the opportunity to draft? So you know what you're getting with a veteran player. Rookie players, it's a 50-50 shot. Some pan out, some don't, but it doesn't hurt to take a shot on some of them. You know what I mean? Because you might pick a rookie wide receiver that might be the wide receiver 3 or 4 on their team, and then Puka Nacua gets hurt, Cooper Kupp gets hurt. All of a sudden, you have a rookie that's out there playing as a wide receiver 2
or even on your taxi squad.
Yeah, exactly. It's just these are the risks you take with taking either a veteran player or a rookie player. Rookie players play harder than veteran players. If they get hurt, they bounce back much faster. That's the advantage of a younger player. Veteran players, if they play, you know what you're getting with them more often than not, like a Saquon Barkley, but you also know Saquon gets injured. So when he gets injured, he's down for games, So it's a back and forth. Now, I wouldn't suggest drafting purely young players. Me personally, I'm a fan of the veteran players and then picking rookie players up as a backup.
That's where we're opposite. When it comes to startup drafts, like I go young and I'm willing to buckle in. Like anytime I'm in a startup draft for a dynasty, I automatically go into it thinking it's a 2-year year one, if that makes sense.
That's 100%.
Like year 2 or year 1 really isn't a year. That'd be like freaking Bryce Young.
It's a red shirt freshman.
Yeah, it's a red shirt. And then year 2 is when you can see where you're at and what you do with your trades and things like that.
And the way I look at it is if you get a good veteran player.
Yeah, you're different than me.
Yeah, well, let's put it in perspective. Let's say you get Saquon Barkley, right? He got traded to the Eagles. You have Saquon Barkley. You drafted him. Okay, and you go through your first year, and there's positions you're weak in other than running back. Let's say you're weak in quarterback and running back. You know what you could do is you could take this veteran player, pick you up a decent wide receiver, a decent quarterback, and then you could pick up a rookie running back after the draft for the price of a Saquon Barkley. That's the way I look at it. So it's really your own. It's how you.
It's preference.
Yeah, it's your own preference. It's how you want to run it.
What's the strategy? It's your team strategy. That's the fun part about dynasty.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
About dynasty,
you can have a great veteran player that you could trade for 2 or 3 other rookie players, if need be. Once your season starts progressing more and stuff like that. Or you could go all young and hope that it works out that way. The statistics, the analytics and stuff like that are way more advanced than they used to be. So it's easier to pick out these younger players. It's like, yeah, they might not develop until year 3. There's a huge thing when it comes to wide receivers, year 3. If they don't stand out by then, that's it. They normally won't make it as a top tier X wide receiver.
Well, and that's what, as I'm playing with some of these other first time Dynasty players, like I feel like that's the part that people are having most trouble with is that, in redraft leagues, it's like, okay, I'm going to make a trade to win this year. It's win this year, win this year, win this year, win right now.
Yep.
Like in Dynasty, I don't think like that.
No.
I am really like when I heard the name Dynasty and I started thinking about getting into it, I'm like, yo, I'm thinking the Patriots with Tom Brady and Randy Moss and all the rest of the boys. Like, it's a dynasty, right?
Looking for dominance for a few years, then you trade those players off.
It's setting yourself up for success for multiple years.
You don't have to win the first year, but you can set yourself up to win year 3, 4, 5, maybe.
That's right. Or at least be competitive for 5 years in a row. Like, that's a win. Even if you don't win, that sucks.
But the hardest part is getting the right rookie.
That's right.
Like, as of right now, like I'm not trying to beat up on him, or beat up on you or nothing, but as of right now, Malik Neighbors, if you were to go and redraft right now, Malik Neighbors would be, concussion aside, injuries aside, Malik Neighbors would be probably the number 1 pick off the board. Or no, it would be Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors.
So I have that written down on my notes. If you want to check them out, I'm not lying. But I wanted to address Sam's question where it's like,
it's a great question, Sam, by the way.
If you're rebuilding team and you look to stack picks and younger players, like, okay, cool. But I have Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Malik Neighbors, right? Young isn't always good. Okay, so let's get that out there too, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a stud, but he's not producing for fantasy, right? But Malik Neighbors is the number 1, going into
rookie.
week 5.
Well, let's go rookie. He's the number 1 rookie wide receiver right now.
5. He was the number 1 target reception leader in the whole league, rookie or not.
Well, at the end of the day, he's better at what the NFL defenses are doing right now.
Well, but it's also the Giants' offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting hyper. Well, you can say he's getting hyper targeted, but you know what I mean. It's like Marvin Harrison Jr. is
on the Cardinals.
Statistically, he has a better physique, better build, and stuff like that. But against the kind of defense he's playing and stuff like that, he's getting shut down. And that's the difference between him and Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is getting the same kind of pressure, but Malik Neighbors is coming out with the passes.
See, I differ with that argument because what I'm saying is that no, it's cool.
Yeah, I'd rather have Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison.
I know you would.
Yeah,
but what 100%. I'm saying is that both of these dudes are studs.
Oh yeah,
we can agree on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But what you don't know in Dynasty is team chemistry, offensive coordinators, head coaches, schedule.
I like to call it the
division.
I like to call it the mind meld between the quarterback and wide receiver. You just don't know.
That's right. And offensive coordinators make so much more difference than you think. Now, that's the difference between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. They're both studs, but Neighbors is killing the game right now.
It's a long season.
Is not looking good.
It's a long season.
However, it is week 5. You are absolutely right. Okay. So I guess a long way to answer your question is that if you value age in trades, okay, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What you want is it really goes back. It's like a building block system, right? It's like fucking Jenga.
What you want is consistent players. Ultimately.
Okay, hold on. Let me go off and then I'll give it to you. It's like Jenga, right? How are you going to build your stack? Okay. If there are teams like we have a team in our OG league, he's got all old dudes. He's up at the top.
The vets, baby.
He's got all the vets. He's got Nick Chubb, CMC, Saquon Barkley, Christian Kirk, George Kittle. Like, these guys are still producing. And so it's a fine line about where you want to be. For me personally, My dynasty team, I'm looking for longevity. So at the beginning drafts and the startup drafts, I went young, and I'd rather build young and grow with my team. Now, that also comes with me not having
A high risk.
a lot of years in dynasty either, so I'm willing to grow with my team. I'm willing to do that. Some people aren't. If you want to win right now, you're probably pissed off you have Marvin Harrison. I don't agree with that, but you're probably pissed, right? Because you probably took Marvin Harrison the first pick of your draft and picked like 7, 8, 9, 10. You're probably pissed.
Right in the range where you could have got like an A.J. Brown or...
Right. Well, A.J. Brown, you'd be pissed too.
Or
but
Nico Collins or something.
Nico Collins.
Or
Juan.
Yeah, or Bijan or Brees Hall. Brees Hall in there.
Yeah, like Nico is the best example.
Yeah.
Nico is the best example because you could have got Nico late, and this dude is just, he's the number one receiver.
Yep.
So, it really depends on your attitude about dynasty. That's the main thing. I've just explained what I do.
So
Carrie, if you want to put a bow on it.
Me personally, in a startup draft, I wouldn't take a rookie in my first 5 rounds, 6 rounds. I wouldn't take one. I would take an established player. Okay, because an established player, you could get more value out of an established player than you could a 50-50 shot on a rookie. Because everybody, like I said, I'm not trying to knock on Marvin Harrison. He's a good player. He's a great player. And I'm sure he will be a Alpha 1 player eventually. But if you took your first round draft pick on a rookie on a startup, I think that is a bad move because you don't know what the chemistry on your team is going to be and stuff like that. I would rather take a established player, someone who's been in the NFL for a little bit and stuff like that, and then after a few rounds and stuff like that, then start picking up rookies where you can. Because like I said, at the end of the day, you can take if your game plan is to work in a dynasty where you win like 2 or 3 years in a row by like year 3 or 4, okay, you want these established players so you can be like, hey, I'll trade you Saquon. Would you take this trade right now? I'll trade you Saquon for Marvin Harrison Jr. in the second round.
See, to me, that's like, okay, if I'm all in this year and I know that I'm going to fall off, I'm taking Saquon.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So these are the trades you make weeks 9, 10, 11, 12 at your trade deadline.
Right.
So you take your veteran players. If you're looking to push, you take your veteran players and you get these 2 or 3 part trades for your one. And that's how you establish your dynasty
but if I was a young
longevity.
Contending team, I would salivate at the mouth for Marvin Harrison for Saquon.
If Marvin Harrison produces.
No. I'm talking about.
You said young contending
this year.
team.
No. I'm talking about this year.
I'm talking week 12.
Of the barrel. Well, no. I'm just talking about in general. No matter what your record was, if you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're trying to rebuild,
yeah, absolutely.
And someone wants to give you Marvin Harrison for Saquon, dude, I'm salivating at the mouth for that trade.
But that's what I'm saying. But you're talking Marvin Harrison, a second round, and possibly another player for Saquon. For a contending player.
I didn't hear all that extra stuff.
But that's the thing is you could take these veteran superstars and trade them at the trade deadline for not to the person in first, but you could get the person who's like 4th, 5th, and they have a real chance of winning. You're like, hey, I'll give you this superstar stud for your first, your upcoming rookie, and another good player. And that's the difference for me.
See, and I like what you said. And for me, it's when you're trying to identify younger pieces to do that. I like to look for guys who just signed a contract. Like, for example, Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk just signed a contract. He's locked up on San Francisco for the next, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I don't like the first few years of a new contract.
He's young.
Player.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. To me, you're looking for stability. In Dynasty, it's about stability, right? Where stability is what's going to build a dynasty. So for me, right, I have Saquon. I should know this, but I don't. Saquon's contract, I don't even know how long he's in Philly. I don't know how many years it is. I wish I did. I would waste you all's time if I went to look it up right now. But with this example, Marvin Harrison and Saquon, it's like I know Marvin Harrison's going to be with the Cardinals for 5 years. I know the quarterback's good. I know he's a rookie, and I know he's good.
But you could take Saquon and offer him to a win now player at week 12 at your trade cutoff deadline and get a bag. And
you said offer who?
You could offer a player like Saquon.
I'm talking about Marvin Harrison.
No. But listen, if you have Marvin Harrison, right, and you're pushing playoffs, right, would you rather have a Marvin Harrison or Saquon?
Honestly, it depends on what your team is trying to do. I was talking to the rebuild people.
Rebuild.
If you have Marvin Harrison, you get rid of Saquon. You have Marvin Harrison. You know he's locked up for 5 years.
Yep,
you know he's in a contract.
Absolutely.
He's a beast. As of right now, Kyler Murray is the quarterback, so you're safe with that. Like that's a win-win.
100% on rebuild, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to was a rebuild.
Well, I'm agreeing with you because if you could take your veteran player and you're not pushing for playoffs or anything like that, you could trade for one of these younger guys and then plus a draft pick plus a younger person, depending on who you have. You know what I mean? You take a Saquon who's on a 3-year contract or one of these older vet players who are super good, get a rookie that you're aiming for from a team that's pushing playoffs and needs it for that win, because most people, once they're dialed into like, hey, I'm in the playoffs, I'm pushing hard, you can get a lot for a good player.
Right. All right, last part of the question. Part 3.
Question.
How do you guys view a player like King Henry in Dynasty? Dude is still looking like a monster, but he's past the traditional running back age cliff. What would you trade for him if you're trying to win this year? And what would you look to get for him if you were rebuilding?
I'll take this. So players like Derrick Henry is considered an outlier. Okay. In my opinion, there hasn't been a player like him since somebody like Bo Jackson. Okay. These are like once in a generation players. He is a monster and he is doing super good, even though he's past that traditional running back age cliff. Okay. Now, to trade for him is a difficult question, depending on who owns him. If it's a team that's like on the negative and they're looking down, you could probably get him for cheaper by offering, maybe a draft pick or 2 decent players and stuff for him and stuff like that. Maybe a running back to replace Derrick Henry and something else that they're lacking, or a draft pick. I personally, if you were looking to rebuild this year, I would avoid Derrick Henry. Because if you're in a rebuild mode, then that means for the next 2 seasons, you're still trying to build up. And that's what rebuild mode means to me. So for the next 2 seasons, you're rebuilding, because you're not going to rebuild in a year. And there's just, unless you, for whatever reason, ended up with a ton of draft picks in 1 year, you're not going to do it over the course of 1 season. It's going to be 2 or 3 seasons. You're rebuilding up. But Derrick Henry he's a freak athlete. And if he's on a winning team and a team pushing for the playoffs, you're probably not going to get him. But if he's on a team that's not and you are pushing for the playoffs, you could probably get him for like a draft pick and a player to replace their running back. You know what I mean? So it just depends on which side of the ball you are.
True. For me, yeah, this is a tricky thing, right? Because the question says, we're viewing Derrick Henry, who is, at the end of his career.
He's an outlier.
He is a monster, but he is past the running back cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this seems like specific for this Sam guy. Must have him on his team and is like in a conundrum because he must be like, am I in or out in his league, right?
If you own him, I would trade him for a bag if you're not
okay, so
competing.
that's how I was going to go about this.
Yeah.
Before I started, I just want to say this would be like if I'm a Derrick Henry owner or if I really want Derrick Henry. Because without more context, I don't know whose team is what, and it's it's difficult, right?
Yeah, it's if you're an owner and you're on the losing side, trade him for a bag.
Correct. I mean, let's
Draft
just
picks.
get this out.
Draft
PSA.
picks.
If you're not in it and you have Derrick Henry, go get a bag. I don't care who you trade. I don't care if it's the person you don't want to trade the least. Go get the most you can for Derrick Henry,
at least
right?
the first and then some.
Because I know Tom Brady was 42. Running backs don't do that. So let's be real.
Jerry Rice is
Get
40.
rid of them. Now, okay. If I was trying to win this year and I had Derrick Henry,
I'd hold on to him if I was pushing for a win.
well, I do want to say, first of all, Chuba Hubbard had 13 rushes for 97 yards and a tutty.
Oh my! I'm muting.
Derrick Henry had 15 rushes for 92 yards and one tutty, but 50 yards came off of his last rush of the night. So I just want to say, Chuba Hubbard,
what about
I'd probably trade for him for that.
What about last week, Derrick Henry? Week 4.
I'd probably still take Chuba.
199 yards rushing.
Yeah, I'd probably still take Chuba.
Yeah, because you got a hard on for him. If you're pushing
51 week,
if you're pushing for a championship, no, you made this about Chuba Hubbard. What I'm saying is, Derrick Henry is a better running back than Chuba Hubbard, and for this year, if you're pushing for a championship and you have a positive winning record as of right now, and you feel like your team's really good, hold on to him. Now, if you feel like once it gets closer to the trade deadline and you're not going to make the playoffs, that's the time to trade to trade Derrick Henry. Trade him off to one of these teams that are already in the playoffs, maybe not whoever, but get yourself a first and a player.
All right, so I'm glad you said that because I know we have our back and forth about Chuba. He's my guy. He's
a good player. I know.
But,
I just like to give you a hard time. He's a good player.
But
he's ranked 15 running back.
For this question particular, okay. Which side note, Chuba's look so good. But anyways, we'll get into that next one. Last episode was Dan has a Chuba. Y'all can listen to that. Anyways, all right. So if you had Derrick Henry, right? If you're in it this year, you probably got to hold him. Baltimore looks really good. I feel like they're ripe for a run. They started off slow, but they look good. And I think they're going to make a run. Like, Baltimore is definitely in it this year. Do you agree, homie? Baltimore's in, yes or no?
They started slow, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So my thing is that the traditional age cliff, yes, okay. Derrick Henry is exceeding that, but you also have to look at the situation, right? There have been older running backs that really thrive, but they're in the right situation. I think Baltimore, for any old running back going to die, Baltimore is probably the best spot for you.
Baltimore only picks old running backs.
Except for Keaton Mitchell, right? And J.K. Dobbins. So that's the thing. If this question says, what would you trade for him if you're trying to win this year? And what would you look to get for him if you were rebuilding, right? If I'm rebuilding, the only thing you can get for Derrick Henry is some picks. Like some contender is going to want Derrick Henry, depending upon health. But you could definitely, depending on which league you're in or who you're dealing with, you could totally get a first. But on top of that, if you can't get a first for next year, you could totally get a couple of seconds or, a second, a third, and a fourth. Like you could totally piece this together where you were getting it, especially when he's on a high streak.
Yeah, I would try to shoot for a first and like a medium grade player or something like that. Or I mean, if he's on a hot streak, I would shoot for a first, a good player, and then maybe like a third.
Okay, so what would you look to get for him if you were rebuilding?
For Derrick Henry,
Yeah.
if I was rebuilding and it came down to trade deadline, I would look for a first and like a Rico Dottle and a third. Somebody to replace your running back.
They're going for the bag for Derrick Henry, huh?
Well, if they're going for the championship, why not? You got.
No, I feel you. You get what you can get.
You have an alpha one running back who's on a hot streak and they're pressing and I'm not. Yeah, absolutely. I want a first. I want a running back to replace Derrick Henry. Doesn't have to be a Derrick Henry level of player, but somebody like you can get like a Chase Brown or something like that, or even like a Zach Moss and a third.
See, honestly, like I like the way you're thinking.
It comes
but
down
if
to
I
how
was
much do they want to win?
Right. I'm speaking more to the rebuilding teams. If I had Derrick Henry and I was going to rebuild, honestly, I'd be looking for like a Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, exactly.
And a first, Jonathan Brooks in a second. I'd be looking for Trey Benson and
I'd be
100%
of first.
Like these are the people I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for what's the guy from Miami?
Which guy?
Not Jalen Warren. He plays for Pittsburgh. No, the guy from Miami, the rookie.
Oh, Miami College?
No, Miami Dolphins. It's not Jalen Warren. Come on. This is terrible.
That's your fault. You brought it up.
I'm doing this on air.
But no, I would look for a first and a player to replace and another pick. So depending on how many rookie draft picks you have or rookie rounds you have on your draft, I would definitely, for a Derrick Henry, King Henry, gold cleats, I would look for a first. A first and a first plus. At least that for Derrick Henry if you're rebuilding. If you could get an additional pick in there, like a third or something like that, I would, because the 2025 draft is going to have a lot of running backs in it. So a first is definitely a must-have.
Jalen Wright, the running back from Miami.
I mean, you could, yeah.
If you're talking a first and a Miami rookie running back, like that's where the youth comes in to me, right? It's not about the namesake, right? Like Miami has a receiver, his name's Taj Washington. He was on IR all year. He's a rookie. He might be the shit. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know. So if you're going to trade Derrick Henry, I would try to get the youth and, stack yourself up if you're in a rebuild. But if you're in it, Derrick Henry's got to get somebody big. That was a hell of a question, Sam.
It was a great question, Sam.
We appreciate you. If you're rebuilding, at the end of the day,
get definitely at least a first and a player.
You get as much as you can.
Absolutely. Wait till trade deadline when teams are desperate. That's when you go in for the kill. Get your first, get your player, get a third or a second, get draft picks. Draft picks are huge this year because running backs are a big deal.
I suggest finding the teams. If you're rebuilding, you find the teams who are at the top and you look at their rosters very hard and you figure out what they need and what you can offer.
Find the one that needs running back. And take them from everything they're worth.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you tuning in. We thank you for the support, coming in and hanging out with us in the diner. We want y'all to be safe. Listen, on Spotify and YouTube, it's at Dynasty Diner. At Instagram, it's at DFD_podcast. Please hit us up. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment. And please, at the end of the day, tell a friend. It helps us so much. Y'all be safe, and we'll talk to you next time. Till then, good night.
Thanks for coming by.